Good everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. So I would like to talk about techniques for optimizing performance today. So in the last episode, I talked about the things you can do to improve the performance of a Visualforce page. Right, that's all good. But when you talk from an org perspective, right, when you talk from an enterprise architecture perspective, right, entire org performance makes a lot of difference, right? Obviously, Salesforce is driven by user experience, right? And the reason why Salesforce is so popular because it's easy to use and simple interface, right? Now, if you add a clunkiness to it, if you add too much of delay and lagging options to it, right, it will kind of disappoint users from using Salesforce because obviously you don't want it to if think about from a user perspective, right? Forget about from a developer perspective or from an architect perspective. Think about from a end user perspective. If you're an end user, right, you obviously wanted to have a seamless experience. Say for instance you might be coming from SAP or you might be coming from another system, right? When you might and or you might be an Excel user, right? When you decides to move to Salesforce, right, you obviously wanted to have similar experience what you were similar experience based on the experience you had in the previous system, but it may or may not possible all the time, right? You can't obviously deliver the similar experience of SAP and Salesforce because both systems are different, right? But that being said, right, a lot of things you can do to improve the efficiency, right? So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. Okay, the first thing, as you can see, mashup, right? This is more from an architecture perspective. This is so it's an architecture decision to make, right? For instance, what is mashup, right? From a Salesforce perspective, mashup is like if you don't want to store everything in the Salesforce, right? You can store that in an external system, and then you bring that data to the Salesforce based on the requirement, right? So let me go into this. So you can see that it talks about, if you wanted to maintain the large data, right? It's not a good option to store everything into Salesforce. It's good to store the data elsewhere and bring it to the Salesforce as needed. Okay. Now, they talked about external website. You can actually embed an external UI, external website to the Salesforce using Salesforce UI to give to give user that Salesforce user experience. Or another way you can do using integration, right? So this is an architecture decision. Okay, how do you want the data to sync between two systems, right? You might want a real-time information, or you want data to be visible in an async way. So the mashup is one of the concepts, right? It helps to improve the performance. Now you might wonder how it's going to help to improve the performance. Imagine, right, you have an org. It's not a good practice to dump everything into Salesforce, right? Salesforce is not a data store. Okay, I've seen some of the companies, especially around the file storage, right? People think, okay, let me store this file, let me store that file, everything dumping into Salesforce instead of having another say SharePoint or AW S3, right, from AWS or Azure data store. So it's not a great option to store everything into the Salesforce. It's expensive. It's going to be very expensive. So if you're an architect making that decision, you have to revisit your opinion around that kind of stuff, right? Because you can't use a Salesforce for a data store. So that's one of the example I gave you. So that's where the mashups, the concept is important, right? Or you have, say, an SAP system, right? Which is used for order management. Obviously, you don't want everything to be dumped into Salesforce, right? You want the SAP to be the master source for whatever reason, right? So how you bring the data using integration, right? So that's one of the things you have to keep it in consideration. And this topic is often discussed when we talk about the large data volumes, which is one of the topics I want to discuss in the future. But just for now, for the sake of understanding, just remember this, right? If you wanted to improve the org performance, you have to consider a mashup, right? It's one of the concepts you have to pay attention to. All right. And another one is sharing calculation, defer, right? So sharing at times, right? it's important to defer the sharing calculation, right? Let's say if you wanted to make a lot of changes to the the sharing related configuration, right? And if you fail to defer the sharing calculation, it will start to recalculate this stuff. And imagine such thing happens in the middle of the day when users are doing things, right? It's not a good option to do so. So that's why it's good to defer the sharing. If you're planning to make a massive changes to the sharing related configuration, please do not do during the business hours. Do that, late after hours, right? So this is more like a business process, okay? Um, yes, it does impact the org performance, but you have to have a business process in place when to do certain things, right? And this is also forms a part of a governance process. Okay. So if you do not have this system in place, then you might end up in, causing a lot of user frustration if you try to do these kind of things. And I've seen personally, right? People, even developers getting frustrated at times. So so that's another option. And using Socal and Social, right? I talked about this many times. All right. I mean, I do understand that. I mean, if you're someone who came from a say SQL Server background or Oracle, right, you might find Socal and Social very primitive. I mean, no offense to it. I mean, Social is way limited in what you can do. But that being said, right, you can control a lot of operation using SQL. It's a proprietary, SQL language of Salesforce, right? And if you wanted to get the data from the Salesforce object, then you have to use the SQL. But that being said, you have to be very clever. You have to be very careful, right? At the same time, regarding the data you wanted to push, you can't write a query like select a name from account. That's it. It's not good because imagine if you have 50,000 accounts in the system, you're going to fetch the damn 50,000 accounts, right? Which even though you may not need them. So you have to understand the requirement, add the right filter condition, right? The social is very handy if you're not sure where your data lies, in which object, so you can use a social, right? That's very powerful. And but that being said, you have to use it wisely, right? So this is something I expect you guys to know, right? This is before you even get into platform developer two, you should have a fairly decent understanding about social and social. If not, then I would question how you managed to get platform developer one at first place, right? I mean, if you come to an interview with me, right, and you say, look, I got platform developer two, and if you can't answer social and social related question, then I would say, have you used dumps to get the certification? Because you know you might be annoyed, right? I bring this topic of dumps all the time. I have seen specifically in New Zealand, right? I've interviewed a few people have 10 experience, 10 certification, right? And I've interviewed some from Australia as well. They come they normally apply for an interview with 10 Salesforce certification, which is great. I mean, I'm in favor of certification, right? Because I that's one of the main thing I teach people to get certified. But but when you question the knowledge, right, they kind of struggles. They fail to answer the basic questions, and that makes me wonder, right? This is just not. That's why, when I have to choose someone between an experienced guy or a certified guy, I choose an experienced guy. It's like saying, right, would you be comfortable flying with a pilot who has 5 years of flying experience or five certification with no experience? I will not fly with a pilot with no flying experience whatsoever. I mean, you can disagree, but I'm not happy to put my life in danger. So that same analogy goes. If it's okay, I mean, if you're someone with 10 experience, but you have to, and taking certification, right, for the sake of it, it's pointless, right? If you're not going to use it anywhere, right? So that's the reason why I often emphasize that certain things you should know. This is a prerequisite. I mean, this is no exception to the rule whatsoever. Okay. All right. Deleting data. Right. So when you delete the data, right, this is a pretty simple. I hope you guys know that when you delete the data, it goes to recycle bin, stay there for 15 days, which is what we call soft delete in terms of the Salesforce space, or you can also do a hard delete. So if you wanted to do instantaneous delete, then you have to use the bulk API, right? Now, when you use the bulk API, when you often deal with the lots of data, right? And if you wanted to do a large data volume deletion, then you should use the bulk API hard delete option. Pretty simple. Okay, now Staying a data in a recycle bin is an issue, okay? Because when you wanted to use the SQL query to get the data, you have to consider the deleted record, which stays in the recycle bin as well. Because, you know, often confuses people, right? When you say, okay, I've deleted the data, but that doesn't mean that it gets wiped out from your object store. In other words, from your database, right? It stays in the recycle bin, which is like a Salesforce, a pretend, you know, what do you call it? How do I say? There is a terminology. I've forgotten about it. I used to do in the Unix days, when I used to do some work on the Unix side of things. All right, never mind. Sorry, I digress. Um, so what I was trying to say, right? The data will stay in the recycle bin, right? And then if you want to, we can go and delete it. So and then the last thing is about the search, right? If you wanted to import a large amount of data, then you have to index the information before it becomes available to user. It's absolutely important. I mean, in everything in when you search, right? Forget about Salesforce for a second. Okay, forget about it for a second. If you are storing information in a database, right, and when you wanted to retrieve that information, database has to do heavy lifting. Okay, and there is a concept called index, right? Index, like it's like a if you look at the book, right? If you take a book, right, you have index, right? So going to an index, you can pretty much go to the same page, right? So without having to go through each and every page. So if you don't have index, right, then it will hit the table scan. And table scan is the worst part, right? Then you have to scan the entire bloody table to get the data what you requested, right? And it will slow down the search to a drastic level, which is not great. So indexing the information means, okay, you just go straight away to that pointer, and the pointer will take you to the right of the leaf node, and leaf node will tell, okay, this is the data, and display it to the user, right? I'm sorry, I might be using SQL Server terminology, but the concept is pretty much the same. Um, so that's the reason why it's important to index the information. So, I mean, these things are pretty basic, right? I mean, I, I do expect that you guys will have this knowledge before you start doing platform developer 2. If not, then it's all good. I mean, I hope you've learned something today, right? So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in this episode. From the next episode onwards, I'm going to talk about large data volume. It will be like one or two sessions perhaps, and then we got a few more other stuff to do. And I think we have covered pretty much like 40% of the platform developer 2 course. We still got 60% left to do, but that's cool, right? We still got a lot of time to do. I mean, what's the point of doing stuff in a hurry, right? You have to do it in a very efficient way. And like I always say, is right. Please do not rely only on my videos. Do your own research. Invest time. Whenever you get to study by yourself, or if you have a study partner, that's even better. So whichever way works for you, right? I mean, that's all I wanted to say. All right, enough of ranting. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. So I hope you guys have an amazing Thursday. Adios.